a werewolf shifter romance audiobook, written by Trisha. The Reaping. The rain didn't just fall. It hammered against the mud like it was trying to bury us all alive. Truth be told, I hated the rain. It smelled like wet dog and fear. Mostly fear. The entire village of Blackwood stood in the square, shivering, not from the cold but from them, the Wolf Guard. They stood in a circle around us, massive and silent, their armor gleaming under the gray sky. At that moment, the air grew heavy. Too heavy. An elder stepped onto the wooden platform. He held the list that would end a life today. Every year, the Alpha King demanded a tribute. A girl, not to marry, not to work, to serve, and no one ever came back. Her heart skipped, and I felt my sister's hand tighten around mine. Lyra was shaking. She was too soft for this world, too kind. Without warning, the elder spoke. Lyra Vane. The name hung in the air like smoke. Before she could move, the sob ripped out of her throat. It was a small, broken sound, a sound that tore my chest open. 2 guards stepped forward. They didn't look human. Their eyes were yellow, glowing with a hunger that made my stomach turn. They reached for her. Her body moved on instinct. I didn't think so. I didn't breathe. I just shoved Lyra behind me. Hard. She stumbled into the mud, but I didn't look back. I stepped into the open space, into the danger. No, I screamed. My voice cracked, but it was loud. Take me instead. As the silence stretched, the guards paused. They looked at each other. Then they looked at me. I wasn't soft like Lyra. I had jagged edges and old scars. I lifted my chin. I stared right into those glowing yellow eyes. Deep down, she knew the truth. This was suicide. But looking at Lyra's terrified face, I knew I had no choice. The moment their eyes locked, the lead guard sniffed the air. He stepped close. Too close. I could smell him. Musk, pine, and blood. He grinned, showing teeth that were too sharp, too white. Feisty, he grunted. The alpha likes them feisty. Just like that, rough hands grabbed my arms. Iron shackles clicked around my wrists. Cold, heavy, final. As if pulled by a string, I turned my head. Just once. Lyra was screaming my name, but the sound was drowning in the rain. Lyra, no. Before the words left her lips, they shoved me toward the black carriage. The door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed me whole. And just like that, everything changed. The carriage smelled of old wood and stale terror. What followed was hours of bumping roads and absolute darkness. My hands were numb from the shackles. But my mind was racing, like a rabbit trapped in a snare. Maybe it was fate, or maybe just bad luck, but I wasn't alone. There was another girl across from me. I couldn't see her face, only the outline of her shaking shoulders. She was crying. Soft, hiccuping sobs that grated on my nerves. Still, I couldn't blame her. We were going to the Iron Citadel, the place where the wolves played, the place where humans went to disappear. Stop it, I whispered. My voice sounded harsh in the dark. The space between them burned. The girl gasped, choking back a sob. I can't, she whimpered. They're going to eat us. Everyone says so. To make things worse, the carriage lurched. A growl vibrated through the floorboards. It wasn't the wheels. It was outside, running alongside us, escorting us. Her breath caught. I leaned my head against the cold wall. Eat us? Maybe. But I had a knife hidden in my boot, a small, rusty thing I used for skinning rabbits. If a wolf tried to take a bite out of me, he was going to choke on it. Even so, my hands trembled. I clenched them into fists until my nails bit into my palms. Because of that, the pain kept me focused. It kept the fear at a distance. I closed my eyes and pictured Lyra. She was safe. She was warm. She was alive. That had to be enough. Time stood still. It felt like days. It felt like seconds. Without thinking, I reached out and touched the crying girl's knee. It was a stupid risk. Connection meant weakness, but she felt so fragile. "Listen to me," I said, leaning forward. "Tears smell like prey. Dry them up." As the silence roared, she sniffled. She nodded. Suddenly, the carriage stopped. It wasn't a slow stop. It was a jerk that threw us both forward. Moments later, the door was ripped open. Blinding light flooded in. Her instincts surged. I squinted, shielding my eyes. A massive shadow blocked the light. A man. No, a monster in the shape of a man. "Get out," he barked. Her bones remembered him. Not him specifically, but his kind, the predators. As if fate demanded it, I stepped out first. My boots hit the stone pavement. I looked up, and up. The Citadel wasn't a castle. It was a mountain of black stone carved into a skull. Deep down, she knew the truth. There was no running from this. The courtyard was loud. What followed was a blur of noise and confusion. Clanging metal, shouting men, snarling beasts. We were herded like cattle into the center of the stone pit. High walls surrounded us on every side. More importantly, we were being watched. Up on the balconies, shadows moved, figures draped in fur and velvet. The wolf court. They looked down at us with bored, hungry eyes, like we were ants. Yet, one figure stood out. He stood on the lowest balcony. He wasn't wearing velvet. He was wearing black leather armor stained with something dark. He was huge, broader than the guards, taller. His hair was dark, messy, like he'd just run through a storm. The moment their eyes locked, the air left my lungs. His eyes weren't yellow. They were gold, molten, burning gold. Her body moved on instinct. I should have looked away. That's the rule. Never look an alpha in the eye. It's a challenge. But then, I didn't look away. I couldn't. He leaned over the railing. His gaze swept over the group of weeping girls. Dismissive. Bored. Until he got to me. He stopped. His nostrils flared. Even from this distance, I saw it. As the bond pulsed, a weird heat bloomed in my chest. Not fear. Something else. Something spicy. Like wood smoke and lightning. Without another word, he vaulted over the railing. He dropped 20 feet and landed in the courtyard without a sound. Dust swirled around his boots. The other guards scrambled back, bowing their heads, showing their necks submission. Her world tilted. He walked toward me. Every step was heavy. Predatory. With every step he took, the crowd went silent. The other girls whimpered and shrank back. I stood my ground. My hand twitched toward my boot, toward the hidden knife. He stopped inches from me. He smelled like rain and ozone. Dangerous. Intoxicating. "You," he growled. His voice was deep. It vibrated in my bones. "You don't smell like fear." Her voice trembled, but I forced the words out. "I'm not here to smell." The space between them burned. His eyes widened slightly. Surprise or anger? Before either could speak, he reached out. His fingers brushed my chin. His skin was hot, burning hot. Sparks danced across my skin where he touched me. Shadows danced between them. He leaned in close. His lips brushed my ear. "Good," he whispered, darkly, "because fear tastes boring." As if the forest watched, a shiver raced down my spine. I expected a dungeon. I expected a bedroom. Instead, they marched us to the mud pits. What's worse, there were no beds, no food, just weapons. Racks and racks of dull, heavy iron swords. Wooden staff. Shields that looked like they had seen a war. The golden-eyed Alpha, Commander Kaelen, I heard a guard call him, stood on a crate. He looked at us. The 20 trembling girls. Truth be told, he looked disappointed. "Listen up!" he roared. As the echo faded, the courtyard went dead silent. "You think you are here to be eaten?" he asked. He paced back and forth, a predator in a cage. "You think you are here to warm our beds?" She didn't know what scared her more, The question or the answer? He stopped. He grabbed a sword from the rack and threw it. It landed in the mud right at my feet with a heavy thud. As a result, mud splattered my face. I didn't flinch. Wrong, Kaelen snarled. The vampires to the south are building an army. The rot to the east is spreading. Her chest ached. Vampires? The rot? We were told those were myths, bedtime stories to scare children. We don't need meat, Kaelen said, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. We need soldiers. And just like that, everything changed. He pointed a finger at me, at the mud on my face, at the defiance in my eyes. Pick it up, he ordered. Without thinking, I reached down, my hand wrapped around the hilt of the sword. It was heavy, cold. Deep down, she knew the truth. I wasn't a tribute anymore. I was a recruit. As the wind shifted, Kaelen smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was a wolf's smile, sharp, terrifying. Survive the week, he said, low growl. And maybe I won't kill you myself. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, I gripped the sword tighter, her soul answered. I wasn't going to die here. I was going to become the nightmare they feared. The sun didn't rise, it bled into the sky. What followed was pain, pure, white-hot pain. We weren't tributes anymore. We were meat in a grinder. Kaelen ran us until our lungs burned. He made us lift stones until our fingers bled. He wasn't training us. He was trying to break us. Still, I didn't break. I bent. Like a willow in a storm. By the time the midday bell rang, I was covered in mud. Sweat stung my eyes. My arms shook so bad I couldn't hold my water skin. Yet Kaelen watched. He stood on the ridge, a dark statue against the gray clouds. He never yelled. He never screamed. He just watched. His golden eyes tracked every stumble, every weakness. More importantly, he tracked me. Again, his second-in-command barked. A brute named Jax. To make things worse, Jax enjoyed it. He liked the smell of our fear. He threw a wooden staff at my feet. Pick it up, girl. Fight me. Her chest ached. I stared at the staff. My hands were raw. Even so, I bent down. I grabbed the wood. It felt heavy, too heavy. Without warning, Jax lunged. Her body moved on instinct. I dodged left. I didn't think about it. I just moved. The poaching trails back home, the wolves in the woods I had spent my life running. Instead of hitting me, Jax stumbled. He growled, a low, wet sound that made the hair on my arms stand up. Hold. The voice cut through the air like a whip. As if summoned, Kaelen walked down the ridge. With every step he took, the mud seemed to dry up. The air got thinner. He didn't look at Jax. He looked at me. You move like a rabbit, Kaelen said softly, darkly. Prey moves like that. Her voice trembled, but I lifted my chin. Rabbits survive, Commander. Wolves starve. The space between them burned. The recruits gasped. Jax took a step forward, ready to strike me for the insult. But then Kaelen laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It was dark. Dangerous. Survival isn't enough, he whispered, stepping into my personal space. He smelled like storm clouds and iron. Rabbits get eaten, Lyra. Warriors kill. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, he leaned close. His breath ghosted over my ear. Stop running, he murmured. Start hunting. And just like that, everything changed. That night, the barracks were quiet. Too quiet. Truth be told, I couldn't sleep. My muscles twitched. My mind raced. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Alara's face. I saw the fear in her eyes. So, I got up. I needed air. I needed to see the sky. I crept past the sleeping girls. The stone floor was cold under my bare feet. Without thinking, I found the service stairs. They wound up and up, toward the glass roof of the Citadel. The spire. Eventually, I reached the top. The wind up here was wild. It whipped my hair around my face. I walked to the edge. The drop was endless. A black abyss. Suddenly, a shadow detached itself from the wall. Her heart skipped. "You're loud?" a voice rumbled. Her breath caught. I spun around. Kaelen. He wasn't wearing his armor. He was wearing a loose black shirt. It was unbuttoned at the top. I could see the scar on his chest, a jagged white line. No matter how hard she tried, I couldn't look away. "I was just looking," I stammered. "Looking for a way out?" he asked. He took a sip from a flask. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Deep down, she knew the truth. Of course I was. "There is no way out, Lyra," he said. He didn't sound angry. He sounded tired. "The walls aren't to keep you in." As the wind shifted, he pointed to the horizon, to the east. In fact, the horizon was glowing. A sickly, pale green light. It pulsed, like a heartbeat. A sick heartbeat. "Look," he commanded. As the world narrowed, I squinted. Shadows were moving in the green light. Thousands of them. "The rot," he whispered. "Vampire thralls, dead things, hungry things." Her world tilted. I thought you were the monsters." He looked at me then. His golden eyes were dim, sad. "We are monsters," he said simply, softly. "But we are the monsters that stand between you and that." The moment their eyes locked, something broke. The anger in my chest cracked just a little. Between them, something cracked. He wasn't guarding a prison. He was guarding a fortress. As the silence stretched, he stepped closer. He reached out. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers were rough, calloused, but his touch, her skin burned. It was gentle. "Go to bed, little rabbit," he murmured. "Tomorrow I will teach you how to bite back." As the echo faded, I fled. I ran back to the dark, but the heat of his touch stayed on my skin. Come morning, the mood had shifted. Because of that, the training felt different. The girls weren't crying anymore. They were grim, silent. We had seen the green light. We knew what was coming. To make things worse, Kaelen was relentless. "Pair up!" he roared. Without warning, he pointed at me. Then he pointed at himself. Her blood went cold. "Me?" I squeaked. "You!" he growled. "You have a mouth on you. Let's see if you have teeth." As if fate demanded it, the other girls formed a circle around us, a fighting pit. Startled, I raised my wooden staff. My hands were shaking, just a little. In the span of a breath, he moved. He was a blur of speed. I didn't see him move. I just felt the impact. Whack! His staff hit my ribs. I stumbled back, gasping for air. "Dead," he said flatly. Again. Despite that, I got up. I gritted my teeth. Next, he swept my legs. I hit the mud. Hard. "Dead," he repeated. Again. Fury bloomed, hot and red. I wasn't going to die. I wasn't going to let him win. On the other hand, I couldn't beat him with strength. He was an alpha. He was made of iron and magic. I had to be something else. Her instincts surged. He lunged again. A straight strike to my chest. Before she could move, I remembered the woods, the snares, the tricks. Instead of blocking, I dropped. I fell to my knees in the mud. His staff whooshed over my head. With a single glance, I saw his surprise. At that moment, I drove my staff up, hard, right into his stomach. It wasn't a killing blow. It was barely a tap compared to what he could do. But it connected. Thud. Time stood still. The courtyard went silent. Absolute silence. No one hit the commander. Ever. Her chest ached with panic. I scrambled back, waiting for the blow, waiting for the anger. But then, he looked down at his stomach. Then he looked at me. A slow smile spread across his face. It wasn't the cruel wolf smile. I was proud. "Good," he breathed. As the tension broke, he offered me a hand. Without thinking, I took it. He pulled me up. He didn't let go immediately. He held my hand. His thumb brushed over my muddy knuckles. As the bond pulsed, I felt it again. That pull. that terrifying magnetic pull. "You have teeth after all," he whispered. Her soul answered. That night, the peace didn't last. Just like that, the sirens began to wail, a low, mournful howl that echoed off the stone walls. She didn't know what scared her more, the sound or the reaction of the guards. Without warning, the barracks door flew open. Jax was there. He was fully armored. His face was pale. "Up!" he screamed. "Get up! Breach! Sector 4! What followed was chaos. Girls screaming, scrambling for weapons. Deep down, she knew the truth. This wasn't a drill. Before the words left her lips, I grabbed my sword, the heavy iron blade. It felt lighter now. Familiar. I ran into the hallway. The stone corridor was flashing with red light. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my arm. Kaelen. He was wearing full armor, black plate mail, a sword strapped to his back, but his helmet was off. His eyes were wild. "Stay here," he ordered. "Growl, do not leave this hallway." Her voice trembled. "Where are you going?" "They're inside," he snarled. "A scout pack. Vampires." Her heart skipped. Vampires. Here. Inside the Citadel. As if pulled by a string, I looked down the hall. I heard it. A screeching sound, like metal on glass, and the smell. The air thickened with the scent of rotting meat. "I can fight," I said. "No!" Kaelen roared. He shoved me back toward the barracks. "You are not ready! If you die!" Her thoughts spun. He stopped. He looked at me. Really looked at me. "If you die, I lose," he finished softly. As the silence roared, he turned. He ran toward the screams, toward the red light. However, I wasn't a Lara. I wasn't a victim. Her wolf pressed forward. Not a real wolf, but the spirit inside me, the hunter. As if the forest watched, I tightened my grip on the sword. She didn't know what scared her more, disobeying him or doing nothing while people died. Without another word, I ran, not away from the danger. But then, I ran toward it. And she let it happen. The hallway wasn't a hallway anymore. It was a slaughterhouse. What followed was a nightmare, a blur of red light and screaming steel. Truth be told, I had never seen a vampire before. Not a real one. The stories said they were beautiful, elegant. Instead, they were monsters. They moved on the walls like spiders, pale, skeletal. Their mouths were too wide, filled with needle teeth that snapped wetly at the air. Without warning, one dropped from the ceiling. It landed in front of me. Hiss. It smelled like old copper and grave dirt. Her heart skipped. "Fresh meat," it rasped. Its voice sounded like dry leaves scraping together. Her body moved on instinct. I didn't freeze. I couldn't. Because of that survival instinct I learned in the woods, I ducked. Claws raked the air where my head had been. Swish. As if pulled by a string, I rolled forward. The mud of the training pit had taught me balance. The fear had taught me speed. More importantly, Kaelen had taught me to bite back. I gripped the iron sword. It was heavy, but my fear made it light. I swung. Not a graceful arc. A desperate, choppy hack. At that moment, the blade connected. Crunch. It hit the vampire's leg. Bone snapped. The creature shrieked, a sound that made my teeth ache. It fell, thrashing. Suddenly, a roar shook the stone floor. A real roar. Deep. Animals. As the silence roared, a massive black shadow slammed into the vampire. A wolf. Huge. Midnight black fur. Golden eyes that burned like suns. Kaelen. Shifted. Before she could move, he tore the leech apart. It was brutal. Fast. Necessary. Yet, he didn't stop. He turned those golden eyes on me. He snarled. It wasn't a threat. It was a question. "Are you hurt?" Her breath caught. "I'm okay," I whispered. But then, another screech echoed from the dark. More were coming. To make things worse, the lights flickered and died. Deep down, she knew the truth. We were trapped. The moment their eyes locked, the wolf shifted back. It wasn't magic like in the stories. It was painful. Bones snapping, fur retreating into skin. Kaelen stood there, breathing hard. He was naked from the waist up. Blood, black, vampire blood, coated his chest. Still, he looked terrified. "I told you to stay," he growled. His voice was rough, human, but barely. Her voice trembled. "You needed help." As a result, he slammed his hand against the wall. Bang. "You could have died," he roared. Heaving breath. "Do you know what that would do to me?" The space between them burned. He grabbed my shoulders. His grip was bruising, desperate. He checked me for bites, for scratches. Without thinking, I flinched. Not from him, but from the sting in my arm. He froze. He looked at my sleeve. It was torn, bleeding. Her chest ached. "It's just a scratch," I lied. In fact, it burned like fire. Vampire claws were poisonous. Everyone knew that. Without another word, he ripped a strip of cloth from his pants. He knelt, an alpha kneeling for a tribute. As the world narrowed, he pressed the cloth to my arm. His hands were gentle now, so gentle it scared me. "This will hurt," he murmured. Softly. "I'm sorry." Before the words left her lips, he brought my arm to his mouth. Her soul answered. He didn't bite. He licked the wound. His tongue was hot, rough. Because of that, the poison didn't spread. Wolf saliva healed. It was an old myth, but as the burning stopped, I knew it was true. Time stood still. He looked up at me. His mouth was stained with my blood. His eyes were wide, vulnerable. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, I reached out. I touched his messy hair. "Why?" I whispered. "Why do you care?" As if fate whispered, he closed his eyes. He leaned into my touch. "Because," he breathed, "you aren't just a soldier, Lyra." Shadows danced between them. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Just like that, I knew. I wasn't just a tribute. I was his. Come morning, the Citadel was in chaos. What followed was an inquisition. The High Council had arrived. They sat in the Great Hall. Old wolves. Gray fur. Cold eyes. They didn't care about the attack. They cared about the breach. More importantly, they needed someone to blame. Kaelen stood in the center of the room. I stood behind him, a shadow. "The defenses failed," Elder Varric spat. He was a scar-faced wolf with one eye. "How did leeches get past the wards, Kaelen?" As the tension broke, Kaelen crossed his arms. "Someone let them in." The air thickened. A traitor. Inside the Citadel. Even so, Varric laughed. It was a dry, hacking sound. "Impossible, unless the humans led them here." Her blood went cold. He pointed a crooked finger at me, at the bandage on my arm. "She smells like them," Varric snarled. "She carries their taint." On the other hand, Kaelen didn't back down. He stepped in front of me, a shield. "She fought them," Kaelen said, his voice low and dangerous. "She bled for this pack." "She is a tribute," Varric shouted. "Livestock. She has no place in the guard." Because of that insult, Kaelen growled, a deep, rumbling sound that shook the floorboards. Her wolf pressed forward. I stepped out from behind Kaelen. Despite that fear gnawing at my belly, I spoke. "I am not livestock," I said. My voice was steady. "And I know how they got in." As the silence roared, every eye turned to me. Even Kaelen looked surprised. Truth be told, I had seen something during the fight, something I hadn't understood until now. "The maintenance tunnels," I said. "The ones used for waste. The grate was rusted open, cut open." As if the forest watched, Varric paled. Just a shade. Deep down, she knew the truth. Only someone with a key could access those tunnels. Someone high up. "Lies," Varric barked. But then, Kaelen looked at Varric, really looked at him. He saw the sweat on the elder's brow. He smelled the fear. At that moment, the alliance shifted. It wasn't wolves versus humans anymore. As the truth unraveled, it was us against them. Eventually, they let us go. For now. We walked back to the training pits. The mood was heavy. The other recruits watched us. They saw the blood on Kaelen's chest. They saw the way he walked beside me, not in front of me. So, they knew. Something had changed. Kaelen stopped at the edge of the pit. He turned to me. "You shouldn't have spoken," he said, but there was no heat in his words. "You shouldn't have knelt," I countered. Between one breath and the next, a ghost of a smile touched his lips. Because of that small smile, the knot in my chest loosened. "We have a traitor," he said quietly. "Varric, or someone close to him." Maybe it was fate, or maybe it was just survival, but I made a choice. I stopped fighting him. I stopped looking for the exit. "Then we need to be ready," I said. As the wind shifted, I looked at the recruits, the girls from the village. They were scared, weak. No matter how hard she tried, Kaelen couldn't train them all alone, not with the council breathing down his neck. "Let me help," I said. "I know how to hunt. I know how to move without being seen. You teach them to fight, I'll teach them to survive." Her world tilted. It was a crazy offer. A human training wolves? Yet, Kaelen didn't laugh. He looked at the recruits. Then he looked at me. "Partner?" he asked. The word hung in the air. Heavy. Significant. With a single glance, I nodded. "Partner." As if summoned, the wind howled through the spire. It sounded like a war cry. And she let it happen. We weren't just sacrifices anymore. We were the tithe. And we were going to make them pay. Deep down, she knew the truth. The war had just begun, and the traitor was watching. Next, we hunt the hunter. What followed was a week of brutal, beautiful sweating. The training pits weren't a place of fear anymore. They were a forge. Truth be told, the recruits were listening. They stopped moving like cattle. They started moving like shadows. I taught them how to walk without breaking a twig, how to hide in plain sight. Meanwhile, Kaelen watched. He wasn't on the balcony anymore. He was in the mud with us, shirtless, dangerous. Every time he moved, muscles rippled under his scarred skin. As the bond pulsed, I felt him. It was a physical weight in my chest, a hunger. "Again," he growled. Her body moved on instinct. I lunged. I didn't use a sword, I used a dagger, small, fast. In the span of a breath, he caught my wrist. His grip was iron, but his thumb brushed my pulse. The space between them burned. We froze, chest to chest, mud smeared on our skin. As the silence stretched, the recruits vanished from my mind. The spire vanished. There was only him. The smell of him, rain, ozone, and wolf. "You're faster," he murmured. Low rumble, but not fast enough. Before the words left her lips, I twisted. I used his own weight against him. A trick I learned was wrestling my brother. Suddenly, we went down. Splat. I landed on top of him. My thighs straddled his waist. My dagger pressed against his throat. Her breath caught. Time stood still. His golden eyes burned up at me. He wasn't angry. He was impressed. And something else. Something darker. Deep down, she knew the truth. He wanted this. He wanted the challenge. "Dead," I whispered. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, he smirked. A wicked, devastating thing. "Maybe," he husked, "or maybe I just wanted you exactly here." Her world tilted. The heat between us spiked. It was terrifying. Yet, he didn't push me off. He laid there in the mud, staring at my mouth. Just like that, the alarm bell rang. Not the siren. The summons. The High Council demanded an audience. As the tension broke, I scrambled off him. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Without another word, he stood. The playful wolf was gone. The commander was back. But then, he touched my shoulder as he passed. "Stay sharp, little rabbit," he said, softly. "Trouble is coming." And she let it happen. That night, we didn't sleep. Instead, we hunted. Not in the woods, in the Citadel. Kaelen suspected Varric, but suspicion wasn't proof. We needed paper. We needed a confession. So, we broke into the archives. As the shadows danced between them, we moved through the dark corridors. Kaelen moved with supernatural silence. I moved with practiced care. Eventually, we reached the heavy iron door of Varric's private study. "It's locked," I whispered, magically sealed. On the other hand, Kaelen was an alpha. Without warning, he placed his hand on the lock. Smoke hissed. The smell of burning magic filled the air. He grunted, his jaw tight with pain. Click. As if summoned, the door swung open. What followed was a frantic search. We tore through scrolls, maps, ledgers. More importantly, we found the map. It was hidden under a false bottom in the desk, a map of the Citadel's defenses. But there were red lines drawn on it. Paths, tunnels. Her blood went cold. "He's not just letting them in," Kaelen growled. His voice vibrated with fury. "He's guiding them." To make things worse, there was a letter attached. It smelled of sulfur. "Deliver the tithe to the deeper mines. The master hungers." Her chest ached. The master, the leader of the vampires. Suddenly, a floorboard creaked outside. Her instincts surged. "We're not alone," Kaelen hissed. Before she could move, the door slammed shut. A bolt slid into place. Then, the hissing started. Green gas, pumping in from the vents. As the air thickened, I coughed. It tasted like ash, like death. "Wolfsbane," Kaelen choked out. He stumbled. His strength, his alpha power was useless against poison. Her soul answered. I wasn't a wolf. I wasn't affected by the bane. Without thinking, I grabbed a heavy iron candlestick. "Cover your face!" I screamed. As if fate demanded it, I smashed the window. The glass shattered. Deep down, she knew the truth. It was a long way down. The wind carried his name. "Kaelen!" I yelled. He was heavy, slumping against me. The gas was paralyzing him. Despite that, he tried to push me away. "Go," he wheezed. "Leave me." Her heart skipped. Leave him? Never. Because of that stubbornness, I grabbed his arm. I draped it over my shoulder. "We jump," I ordered. Her world tilted. We were 4 stories up. Below us was the moat. Dark water. Before either could speak, the study door splintered. Guards. Varric's personal guard. With every heartbeat, the danger grew. So I jumped. I dragged the alpha of the wolf guard out of a window. As the sky darkened, we fell. The air rushed past my ears. My stomach dropped. Splash. What followed was cold. Freezing, murky water. It swallowed us. Even so, I kicked. I kicked hard. Kaelen was dead weight. He was sinking. The armor dragged him down. Her lungs burned. I grabbed his collar. I pulled. I fought the water. I fought the weight. By the time we broke the surface, I was gasping. Yet he wasn't breathing. Her fear spiked. I dragged him to the muddy bank. The shadows of the bridge hit us. I pushed on his chest, hard. "Breathe!" I sobbed. "Come on, breathe!" As the silence roared, nothing happened. He was pale. So pale. Without another word, I pressed my mouth to his. I breathed my air into him. At that moment, he coughed. Water and gas expelled from his lungs. He gasped, taking a greedy gulp of air. Her bones remembered him. The relief made my knees weak. But then, he groaned. He clutched his side. To make things worse, the water wasn't just water. It was laced with silver filings. A trap within a trap. His skin was sizzling. Deep down, she knew the truth. We couldn't go back to the barracks. We were fugitives now. Next, we had to run. Eventually, we found shelter. An old poacher's cave. My cave. It was miles from the Citadel, hidden by thick brambles. Still, it was cold. Kaelen lay on the dirt floor. He was shivering, violent, racking shivers. The wolfsbane weakened him. The silver burned him. Truth be told, he looked broken. So I built a fire, small, smokeless. As the fire bloomed, I knelt beside him. I had to get the wet clothes off him. The silver-soaked fabric was poisonous. Her hands trembled. I undid the buckles of his armor. I peeled off his wet shirt. The space between them burned. His skin was hot to the touch, fever hot. "Lyra," he whispered. His voice was a wreck. Weakly, "You should have run." Her chest ached. "I don't run from my family," I said softly. As the words left her lips, his eyes opened. Golden. Hazy. "Family?" he rasped. As the bond pulsed, he reached out. His hand was heavy. He touched my cheek. "Mate," he breathed. Her world tilted. The word hung in the air. He hadn't meant to say it. It was the fever talking, the instincts, or maybe it was the truth. With a single glance, I saw the raw need in his eyes. As if summoned, I leaned closer. I needed to share body heat. It was survival. Just survival. Deep down, she knew the truth. It wasn't just survival. I lay down beside him. I pressed my body against his back. I wrapped my arms around his burning chest. As the night deepened, his shivering slowed. He relaxed into me. Between one breath and the next, he laced his fingers with mine. "Varric," he murmured into the dark. "He's bringing the army here. Tomorrow." Her blood went cold. Not only that, but we were alone. No army, no weapons. Just a broken wolf and a girl with a knife. Even so, I held him tighter. "Let them come," I whispered into his neck. As the echo faded, I made a promise. And just like that, everything changed. If they wanted a war, we would give them a slaughter. Next, the rabbit becomes the wolf. That night, the fire burned low. What followed was the longest hours of my life. Kaelen wasn't just sick, he was burning up. The silver in the water had poisoned his blood. Truth be told, I didn't know if he would make it. He tossed and turned on the dirt floor. His skin was slick with sweat. He groaned a sound deep in his chest that vibrated against my own ribs. So I did the only thing I could. I stripped off my own damp tunic, skin to skin. It was the only way to break the fever. As the fire bloomed, I pressed my cool body against his burning one. Her skin burned, not from fire, from him. "Lyra!" he gasped. His eyes were squeezed shut. Delirious. "Don't let them take you." Her chest ached. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." Even so, he reached for me. His hand, heavy and hot, gripped my hip. His thumb dug into my skin. Possessive, desperate. The space between them burned. It wasn't just a fever grip. It was a claim. Deep down, she knew the truth. The mate bond was fighting the poison. It was keeping him anchored to the living world. Without thinking, I ran my fingers through his damp hair. I hummed a lullaby, the one Alara used to sing. As if summoned, his breathing hitched. He turned his face into my neck. He inhaled, deeply. "Mine," he growled. Low, rough. Her world tilted. A shiver raced down my spine. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open. They weren't hazy anymore. They were gold, sharp, focused. The moment their eyes locked, the air left the cave. "You stayed," he rasped. Her voice trembled. "I told you, I don't run." Before either could speak, he pulled me closer. Our chests collided. At that moment, he didn't kiss me. He did something more intimate. He pressed his forehead to mine. He shared his breath with me. As the silence stretched, the fever broke. Just like that. But then, the reality set in. We were outlaws. Alone. As a result, the morning would bring war. Come morning, the weakness was gone. Instead, there was only steel. Kaelen sat up. He rolled his shoulders, testing the healed skin. The silver burns were pink scars now. More importantly, his eyes were cold. "Varric moved the shipment," Kaelen said. He was drawing in the dirt with a stick. A map. Tonight, her instinct surged. The shipment from the letter? Yes, he said. If he gets those weapons to the Citadel, the loyal guard falls, and the vampires walk right in. To make things worse, we had no army, no backup, just us. Yet Kaelen looked at me. He didn't look at me like a liability anymore. He looked at me like a weapon. We stop it, he said. Her heart skipped. 2 against a convoy? On the other hand, I knew the woods. I knew every route, every shadow. We don't fight them, I said, a plan forming in my mind. We hunt them. As the wind shifted, Kaelen smirked. It was the first time I'd seen him smile in days. Lead the way, little rabbit, he murmured. What followed was preparation. We sharpened sticks. We gathered poisonous berries, nightshade. I showed Kaelen how to rig a snare that could snap a horse's leg. Truth be told, he was a quick learner. For an alpha used to brute force, he moved quietly. As if the forest watched, we moved to the ravine. The only road to the Citadel passed through there. Eventually, the sun began to set. The shadows grew long. Then, we heard it. The rumble of wheels, the clank of armor. Her breath caught. Deep down, she knew the truth. This was the point of no return. If we attacked, there was no going back. We were declaring war on the High Council. Without another word, Kaelen looked at me. He offered me his hand. Ready? He whispered. Her soul answered. I took his hand. Ready. The air thickened with dust and the smell of horses. As the silence roared, the convoy entered the ravine. 3 wagons, 12 guards, Varric's elite soldiers. She didn't know what scared her more, the number of swords, or the cargo covered in heavy canvas. Without warning, I cut the rope. Snap. The log pile we rigged at the top of the cliff crashed down. What followed was chaos. Boom. Dust clouded the air. The lead wagon smashed into the logs. Horses screamed. At that moment, Kaelen moved. He didn't shift. He dropped from the trees like a dark angel. Sword in hand. Clang. He took out the first guard before his boots hit the ground. Meanwhile, I stayed high. I had the high ground. I had my bow, stolen from a fallen guard. Her body moved on instinct. Draw, aim, loose, thwack. An arrow hit a soldier reaching for Kaelen's back. He fell. As if pulled by a string, Kaelen spun. He saw the arrow. He looked up at me, a flash of gold. Acknowledgement. However, there were too many of them. To make things worse, the back wagon opened. It wasn't supplied. Her blood went cold. They were cages, iron cages. Inside were people, girls, from the other villages. Her chest ached. Tributes. More tributes. Varric wasn't just letting vampires in. He was selling us to them. Fury bloomed, hot and white. Without thinking, I abandoned my perch. I slid down the ravine wall. Dirt and rocks tumbled with me. "Let them go!" I screamed. Suddenly, a guard blocked my path. He was huge. He grinned. "Another one for the collection," he sneered. But then, a growl ripped through the air. Before she could move, Kaelen was there. He shoved the guard aside. He stood between me and the cages. Roaring, "Touch her and you die!" As the bond pulsed, the air crackled with alpha power. And just like that, everything changed. The fight ended as quickly as it began. As a result, the ravine was silent. The guards were down, groaning, or still. Kaelen stood panting. Blood, not his, dripped from his sword. Still, he didn't sheath it. He walked to the cages. He slashed the locks. Clang, clang. The girls huddled inside, terrified. Her world tilted. I rushed forward. "It's okay," I said softly. "Go. Run to the woods." Eventually, they scrambled out. They vanished into the trees. Safe. Yet, we couldn't run. We stood by the wreckage. Kaelen picked up a fallen helmet. It had Varric's crest on it. A black wolf head. Truth be told, we had won the skirmish. But we had started a war. He knows now, Kaelen said grimly. He knows I'm alive. The space between them burned. Kaelen looked at me. He looked at the blood on my hands. My hands. You could have stayed in the trees, he said. You could have run. Her voice trembled. I told you. I don't run from my family. At that moment, he dropped his sword. He grabbed my face. Both hands. Her heart skipped. You are not just family, he growled. Intense whisper. You are my queen. Her soul answered. The word hung there, heavy, dangerous. A human queen? It was forbidden. It was treason. Despite that, I didn't pull away. Then let's go take your throne, I whispered. As the wind shifted, thunder rumbled overhead. A storm was coming, a real storm. Deep down, she knew the truth. There was no going back to the village, no going back to the life of a rabbit. Next, we had to return to the Citadel, not as prisoners, but as conquerors. As if fate demanded it, Kaelen kissed me. Hard, fast, a promise of violence, a promise of love. And she let it happen. The storm broke as we reached the Citadel walls. What followed was a climb through the muck, the secret tunnel. It smelled of sulfur and old rot. Truth be told, I was terrified. Not of the dark, but of the silence. Eventually, we reached the grate, the one leading to the barracks. Kaelen pushed it open. Creak. As if the forest watched, the shadows seemed to cling to us. Her heart skipped. It's too quiet, Kaelen whispered. Tense. Where are the guards? Deep down, she knew the truth. Something was wrong. Very wrong. So we moved. Like ghosts. We crept through the stone corridors toward the armory. We expected to find the loyal guard. We expected to find our army. Instead, we found dust. The armory was empty. No weapons, no soldiers. Suddenly, a slow clap echoed through the hall. Clap, clap, clap. Her blood went cold. Light flared. Torches. Hundreds of them. They lined the balconies above us. Without warning, Varric stepped out of the shadows. He wasn't alone. He had the High Council, and behind them her chest ached. Behind them were the recruits, my girls, and the loyal guards. They were on their knees, bound, gags in their mouths. Welcome home, Commander, Varric sneered. As the world narrowed, Kaelen stepped in front of me. A shield. But then, Varric raised a hand. Take another step, Varric said pleasantly, and I slit their throats. Her world tilted. He pointed a dagger at a young recruit, a girl named Mara. To make things worse, Kaelen froze. He was an alpha. He couldn't let his pack die. At that moment, we realized the mistake. We thought we were hunters. Deep down, she knew the truth. We were the prey. The air thickened with the smell of betrayal. As the silence roared, Kaelen dropped his sword. Clang. It hit the stone floor. A sound of surrender. Let them go, Kaelen growled. Low, dangerous. Take me, leave them. On the other hand, Varric just laughed. Take you? Varric mused. Oh no, you are dangerous, Kaelen. Too dangerous to live. Too useful to kill. Without thinking, I grabbed Kaelen's arm. Don't, I whispered. Before either could speak, Varric snapped his fingers. What followed was a nightmare. Nets dropped from the ceiling, not rope, silver chain, crash. They fell on Kaelen. The weight crushed him to the floor. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, smoke rose. The silver burned him instantly. He roared, a sound of pure agony. Her soul answered. No! I screamed. Her body moved on instinct. I drew my knife. I lunged for the chains. But then, a heavy boot kicked me in the ribs. Crack. As the sky darkened, I hit the floor. Hard. Air left my lungs. Before she could move, guards were on me. Rough hands pinned me down. My face was pressed into the cold stone. To make things worse, I had to watch. I watched Kaelen writhe under the silver. His skin blistered, his golden eyes rolled back. Lyra! He choked out. As if pulled by a string, I reached for him. My fingers brushed the floor inches from his. Just like that, a boot crushed his hand. Varric stood over him. "The wolf falls," Varric announced, and she let it happen. I couldn't stop it. I was weak. Humans. Useless. Next, they dragged him away. He wasn't fighting anymore. He was limp. Her heart skipped. Was he dead? Deep down, she knew the truth. Death would have been a mercy. Eventually, the screaming stopped. Because of that, the silence was worse. They didn't kill me. They threw me in the pit. A deep, circular hole in the rock beneath the citadel. It was damp. It smelled of old blood and despair. Truth be told, I didn't move for hours. I lay in the muck. My ribs throbbed. My head spun. As the shadows danced between them, I replayed the moment. Kaelen falling. Kaelen burning. Her chest ached. It wasn't just pain. It was a hollow, gaping hole where my heart used to be. Even so, I listened. I listened for the bond. For that pull in my chest. As the silence stretched, I felt nothing. Just cold. Her world tilted. Was the bond gone? Was he gone? "Stupid," I whispered to the dark. "Stupid rabbit." More importantly, I had failed. The girls were prisoners. The vampires were coming. And Kaelen was gone. Suddenly, a sound echoed from above. Creak. The grate at the top of the pit opened. Light spilled down. Her instincts surged. I scrambled back against the wall. A basket was lowered on a rope. It hit the ground. Curiously, I looked inside. Bread. Moldy bread. And a note. With a single glance, I read it. "He screams for you." Her blood went cold. Varric. He was taunting me, letting me know Kaelen was alive and in pain. Her fury bloomed. But it wasn't hot this time. It was cold. Ice cold. As if fate demanded it, I tore the bread apart. In fact, I wasn't hungry. I was starving for revenge. Still, I ate. I forced the dry, moldy bread down my throat. Because of that, I would survive. Deep down, she knew the truth. Crying wouldn't save him. Dying wouldn't save him. Next, I had to climb. That night, the pit was freezing. Yet I didn't sleep. I paced. Without warning, a whisper drifted through the grate. "Psst, wolf girl." Her breath caught. I looked up. A shadow blocked the moonlight. Before she could move, a small object dropped. Clink. It wasn't a rock. It was a key. A heavy, iron key. As the air thickened, I grabbed it. "Who are you?" I rasped. As if the forest watched, the voice floated down. "A friend of the true Alpha," the voice whispered. Hushed. Varric thinks he won, but he forgot about the runts. Her heart skipped. The recruits, the kitchen staff, the people Kaelen had protected. "Where is he?" I asked. "The tower," the voice said. "He is chained to the summoning stone. Varric plans to sacrifice him at moonrise, to open the gate for the master." Her world tilted. Moonrise. That was in 2 hours. Time stood still. If Kaelen died, the gate opened. The vampires won. However, I had a key, and I had a name. "Wait!" I hissed. "What's your name?" As the echo faded, the shadow shifted. "Just a rabbit," the voice said. "Like you?" And just like that, everything changed. I wasn't alone. Her soul answered. I gripped the key. It bit into my palm. It felt like hope. Without another word, I went to the rusted door in the shadows of the pit, the one Varric thought was sealed forever. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, I slid the key into the lock. Click. Deep down, she knew the truth. The rabbit didn't die in the trap. The rabbit chewed its leg off, and then it went for the throat. Next, the queen rises. The key turned. Click. What followed was the groan of rusted hinges. I pushed the door open. It wasn't a way out to the forest. It was a way into the servants' tunnels, the veins of the citadel. Truth be told, I expected darkness. Instead, I found eyes. Dozens of them. They stood in the cramped stone tunnel, the kitchen staff. The old wolves were too weak to fight. The young ones Varric deemed runts. More importantly, they were armed, not with swords, but with cleavers, pitchforks, rolling pins wrapped in iron wire. As if pulled by a string, a small girl stepped forward, the one who dropped the key. She was a scullery maid I had shared a crust of bread with weeks ago. "We heard you," she whispered. Fierce. "We heard the Queen." Her chest ached. Queen. They called me that. A human. Deep down she knew the truth. They didn't need an alpha. They needed hope. "Varric has the guard," I said, my voice steady. "He has the steel." On the other hand, an old wolf with a limp stepped forward. He held a butcher's knife. "Steel breaks," he rasped. "Hunger doesn't." Her soul answered. As the silence stretched, I looked at them. They didn't have armor. They didn't have magic. They were furious. "The tower," I commanded. "We need to draw the guards away from the tower." As fire bloomed beneath her skin, the old wolf grinned. It was a terrifying sight. "Leave the noise to us, Your Majesty," he growled. And just like that, everything changed. I wasn't just a girl in a pit anymore, I was a general. Next, we burn it down. That night, the moon was full. A giant silver eye watching us. Yet, the citadel was about to turn red. Without warning, the first firebomb hit the stables. Boom. What followed was beautiful chaos. Hay caught fire. Horses stampeded. The runts surged from the shadows, screaming like banshees. They smashed barrels. They banged pots. They made the sound of an army of thousands. As a result, the elite guard panicked. "Attack!" a captain screamed. "Defend the gate!" Meanwhile, I moved. I was a shadow. A ghost. I slipped past the confusion. While Varric's men ran toward the fire, I ran toward the silence, toward the tower. It stood in the center of the courtyard. Tall, black, pointing at the moon like a jagged finger. Her heart skipped. At the top, purple light pulsed. Magic. The ritual had started. To make things worse, the air smelled of ozone and blood. Her blood went cold. Not just any blood. His blood. Without thinking, I ran faster. My lungs burned. My ribs screamed. Because of that pain, I knew I was alive. And as long as I was alive, he wasn't dying. Eventually, I reached the base of the tower. The stairs spiraled up into the dark. As if fate demanded it, I drew my bow. The one I stole. I had 3 arrows left. Deep down, she knew the truth. 3 arrows. 1 life. Next, I climb. By the time I reached the top, my legs were shaking. Still, I didn't stop. I pressed my back against the cold stone of the archway. I peeked inside the ritual chamber. Her world tilted. It was an open-air platform. The wind whipped around the stone pillars. In the center was the summoning stone. And there he was, Kaelen. He was chained to the stone. Silver chains wrapped around his chest, his arms, his throat. His skin was gray. His golden eyes were dim, fixed on the moon. Her breath caught. Varric stood over him. He held a dagger, a jagged blade made of obsidian. More importantly, the air behind the stone was ripping open. A portal. A tear in reality. Through it I saw red eyes. Thousands of them. The Master's army. "Open wide," Varric whispered. Cruel laugh. The wolf pays the tithe. Her chest ached. As the bond pulsed, Kaelen's head lolled. He looked resigned. He thought I was dead. He thought he had failed. Suddenly, Varric raised the dagger. "For the new world!" Varric shouted. Time stood still. If that dagger fell, the blood would spill. The gate would open, and Kaelen would be gone forever. Her instincts surged. I stepped out of the shadows. I didn't hide. I didn't sneak. "Varric!" I screamed. As the silence roared, Varric froze. He turned. His one eye widened. At that moment, Kaelen's head snapped up. Lyra? He choked out. As if summoned, the gold in his eyes flared. Not dim anymore. Bright. Burning. Her soul answered. Get away from him, I said. My voice was calm. Deadly calm. Between one breath and the next, Varric laughed. You? He sneered. A rabbit? You think you can stop a god? But then, I raised my bow. I pulled the string back to my cheek. I'm not a rabbit, I whispered, and she let it happen. The wind carried his name. Kill her! Varric barked at his 2 remaining guards. Without warning, they charged. Massive wolves in armor. Her body moved on instinct. I didn't aim at them. I couldn't waste an arrow on pawns. Instead, I aimed at the chain, the silver link holding Kaelen's right arm. It was glowing hot from the magic, weak. With every heartbeat, the guards got closer. 10 feet, 5 feet. Her fury bloomed. I was released. Thwack. The arrow flew. It sang through the air. Ping! It hit the link. The heated silver shattered. As if pulled by a string, Kaelen's arm was free. What followed was the sound of a beast waking up. Kaelen didn't wait. He didn't think so. He swung his free arm. The heavy silver chain whipped through the air like a flail. Crack! It hit the first guard in the helmet. The wolf went down. Even so, Varric was fast. He lunged for Kaelen's throat with the dagger. Her heart skipped. No! I screamed. I knocked my second arrow. My hands were steady. My soul was screaming. Before she could move, Varric grabbed Kaelen by the hair. He raised the blade. In the span of a breath, I saw the shot. It was impossible. A sliver of space between Kaelen's neck and Varric's chest. Deep down, she knew the truth. If I missed, I killed Kaelen. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was the bond. I let go. As the world narrowed, the arrow blurred. Thud. It buried itself in Varric's shoulder. The moment their eyes locked, Varric stumbled back. He dropped the dagger. As the tension broke, Kaelen roared. He ripped the other chain from the stone with raw, alpha strength. Just like that, he was free. But then, the portal pulsed. A massive, clawed hand reached through the tear. The Master. He was coming through. To make things worse, we had no way to close it. Unless next, the sacrifice. The air thickened with the smell of sulfur. What followed was the sound of tearing sky. Ripe. The Master's hand wasn't just a hand. It was a claw the size of a carriage. It gripped the edge of the stone archway. The stone crumbled. Dust rained down. Truth be told, I froze. As if pulled by a string, Kaelen scrambled back. He was free, but he was weak. The silver burns on his chest were smoking. Meanwhile, Varric was laughing. He pulled the arrow from his shoulder with a wet schluck. He didn't even flinch. He comes! Varric screamed. Fanatical! The god of the new world! To make things worse, the portal widened. A skull face with burning red lights for eyes pushed against the veil. Her blood went cold. The tithe! Varric roared. The gate needs blood to fully open. Without warning, he spun toward me. Her body moved on instinct. I raised my bow. Empty. I had used my last arrow. Before she could move, Varric lunged. He wasn't a wolf anymore. He was a monster fueled by dark magic. He grabbed my throat. At that moment, my feet left the ground. He lifted me like a doll. You, he hissed, his spit hitting my face. You will open the door. Her world tilted. The portal sucked at the air behind me. It wanted me. I was hungry. Deep down, she knew the truth. I was going to die. But then, a shadow moved. As if fate demanded it, Kaelen didn't attack Varric. He attacked the stone. With every heartbeat, Kaelen grabbed the heavy iron chains that had bound him. Instead of hitting Varric, he wrapped the chain around Varric's neck. Suddenly, he pulled. Hard. Crack. And just like that, Varric dropped me. Next, the sacrifice. As the silence roared, I hit the stone floor. Thud. Her lungs burned for air. I gasped. What followed was a dance of death. Kaelen wasn't fighting with a sword. He was fighting with the chains of his own imprisonment. He tightened the silver links around Varric's throat. "You want a tithe?" Kaelen snarled, roaring. "Then pay it!" Because of that, Varric clawed at the chains. His eyes bulged. Yet, he was strong. He threw an elbow back. Bam! It hit Kaelen's ribs. Even so, Kaelen didn't let go. The space between them burned. The portal pulsed louder. The master roared, a sound that shook the mountain. "Give me flesh!" Her instincts surged. I saw it. The summoning stone. It was glowing red. It was the anchor. Without thinking, I grabbed the obsidian dagger Varric had dropped. It was hot. Evil. "Kaelen!" I screamed. "The stone! Push him into the stone!" As if summoned, Kaelen understood. In the span of a breath, he spun Varric around. He used the last of his alpha strength. With a single glance, Varric saw the glowing rune. He saw his end. "No!" Varric shrieked. "I am the prophet!" As the truth unraveled, Kaelen leaned close to Varric's ear. "You are nothing," Kaelen whispered. Just like that, Kaelen shoved him. What followed was a flash of blinding light. Varric hit the stone. The magic grabbed him. It didn't want a girl. It just wanted a soul. Any soul. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, Varric was sucked into the portal. Deep down, she knew the truth. The master didn't care who opened the door. He just ate whoever was closest. Moments later, the portal collapsed. Boom. The shockwave knocked us flat. The red light vanished. The master screamed and then silence. Eventually, the dust settled. Varric was gone. The portal was gone. Only the moon remained. Silver. Clean. Next, the silence. Time stood still. I lay on the cold stone. My body felt heavy. As the echo faded, I heard breathing, ragged, wet. Her heart skipped. "Kaelen?" I whispered. Without another word, a hand reached out from the dust. It found mine. Her soul answered. He was alive. So I crawled to him. He was lying on his back. His chest was heaving. He was covered in ash and blood. Yet he was smiling. "Crazy," he wheezed. Soft laugh. "Crazy rabbit." Her chest ached. "Stupid wolf," I sobbed. As the tension broke, I buried my face in his neck. I cried. For the first time since leaving the village, I let myself cry. As if the forest watched, the sun began to peek over the mountains. First light. Suddenly, footsteps echoed on the stairs. Hundreds of them. Her instincts surged. I grabbed the dagger. Were there more guards? But then a small head popped up over the archway. The scullery maid. Then the old wolf. Then the recruits. Truth be told, they looked terrified. They saw the blood. They saw the chains. Then, they saw us. Alive. As the wind shifted, the old wolf limped forward. He looked at Kaelen. Then he looked at Varric's empty helmet rolling on the floor. At that moment, the old wolf knelt. "The Alpha is dead," the old wolf said. Her world tilted. Then, he looked at Kaelen. "Long live the Alpha," he finished. As if pulled by a string, the maid knelt. The recruits knelt. The entire kitchen staff knelt. However, Kaelen didn't look at them. He looked at me. With a single glance, he told me everything. He struggled to stand. He groaned. I helped him up. We stood together, leaning on each other. "No," Kaelen said. His voice was rough, strong. "No more alphas, no more masters." As the silence roared, he took my hand. He raised it high. "We are a pack," he announced, "and the pack rules together." And just like that, everything changed. Epilogue: The Moon's Choice. 3 months later. The air thickened with the smell of pine and baking bread. What followed was a morning unlike any other. The gates of the Citadel were open, wide open. Carts flowed in, not with tributes, with trade. Truth be told, it wasn't perfect. Some vampires still lurked in the south. The woods were still dangerous. But then, we weren't afraid anymore. I stood on the balcony, the same balcony where I first saw him. As the wind shifted, strong arms wrapped around my waist from behind. Her skin burned. "You're thinking too loud," Kaelen murmured into my hair. Her breath caught. He rested his chin on my shoulder. He wasn't wearing armor, he was wearing a simple tunic. He looked peaceful. "I'm thinking about tithe," I said. "It's almost time for the yearly selection." Because of that, his grip tightened. "There is no tithe." He growled softly. "Not anymore." As the bond pulsed, I turned in his arms. I looked up into those golden eyes. "No," I agreed. "Now we have a choice." The space between them burned. He leaned down. His nose brushed mine. The wolf inside him purred, a deep rumble of contentment. "And I choose you," he whispered. Intense. Every day. Every moon. "I choose you." Before the words left her lips, he kissed me. It wasn't desperate like in the cave. It wasn't violent like in the battle. It was a promise. As the sky darkened into twilight, the first star appeared. Deep down, she knew the truth. The rabbit didn't just survive the wolf. She tamed him, and she let it happen. The end.